Welcome, everyone. My name is Daryl Mungie. I'm Director of Professional Services for the North America team at Actian Professional Services. I have with me today Mike Farron of Lynx Services, a division of Solera. Welcome, Mike. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, yeah, I've been an Ingress DBA since the late '80s, working on some pretty significant projects. First with PPG Industries, Pittsburgh Plate Glass, and then after we were sold off or whatever, part of Pittsburgh Glassworks, and now part of Solera, which is a huge automotive automotive aftermarket supplier, mostly working in with body shops and stuff like that. All right. So yeah, Ingress DBA for many years. I've had many fun, challenging experiences. Basically, my job as the DBA is to make sure that everything runs fast, and uh, and that my developers don't do weird things. And I mean, it's been a fun, challenging experience. Lynx Services, the auto glass claims portion of it, the Ingress database, the ABF application, is a very, very high volume transaction OLTP type um, system. And basically, our business is based on computers and telephones. I mean, that is our product. We are a call center type operation, and basically, we allow insurance companies to outsource their glass claims operations to Link Services, where we handle from basically from top to bottom, from the initiation of a loss to the subsequent final payment of to the retailer of what the installer charged. So, um, and that incorporates a lot of things, a lot of batch processes, a lot of EDI. Are the the workhorse of the Link Services is the Autoglass Claims application, which is 4GL. Um, and within the last week, I've seen 321 distinct connections to the application with many other, probably about 60 other web interfaces. Um, and we run well. We run fine. The system runs fast, and of course, um, it's taken an effort through the years to make sure we optimize everything. And with your help, of course, we've managed to come up with a pretty nice operation. So hopefully that answers that question.
Those most of the vast majority of those connections, those are real human beings, right? What you call a CSR. Can you tell us a little bit about what the CSRs do for your customers?
Yeah, CSRs, they
Or customer service rep?
yeah, customer service rep. We consider our clients to be the insurance companies, and their policyholders. When they run into a glass damage claim, they call a number given to them by their insurance company, which puts them to a CSR who has been assigned to that, if you want to call it a pool for that particular insurance company or that particular links program that we offer. All right. They take the call. Um, they ask the policyholder for um, their policy number, in which we use that to verify with the insurance company within a second or two their level of coverage, whether they do have coverage for that policy, what are the vehicles associated with the policy, what are the deductible amounts associated with that vehicle and policy. And once confirming that, we then the CSR then asks the policyholder if they would, a number of questions like, was there any other damage, any body damage, was anybody hurt? Um, and we end up with asking the policyholder, do you have a shop you would like to take this to? If the policyholder says, yeah, I do, then we have a nationwide database or table of glass retailers who have already agreed to our client's pricing. and we will send a fax to that retailer. If they decide not to go with, if they do not have a choice, we then go through a rotation based on the zip code in which they want the work to be done, whether it's at their house or at another place, or actually at one of those two. We then go through a rotation, and we bring up a retailer within a 15 to 25 mile area. And this rotation is based on I'll call it least recently used, and then we go through the process of saying, we then call the glass shop and say, I have Mr. So-and-so on the phone. He has this kind of car. He's interested in a fix the damage, whether it's a windshield replace, windshield repair. And then they come to an agreement as to when the appointment date will be. And we then tell the policyholder, well, you owe nothing on this. The insurance company is going to cover it all if he has zero deductible. Or we say, okay, you have a $50 deductible. You will need to present that to the retailer at the end of the job. And then when everybody's in agreement, basically we send out a fax or actually EDI transmission as well through several different point of sale providers that goes into either the glass shop's scheduling system or appears on their fax machine and contains the here's the policyholder, here's his policy number, here's the deductible amount, here's the vehicle, here's the parts associated with this repair or replace, and this is what you can expect. This is what the insurance company is allowing you to charge. So that's what the CSR does, but there's more after that too. So
your customer service reps, all of what you just described to us, that's all scripted and driven by your Ingress ABF app, right?
Right. Depending on the insurance company, and depending on the situation, we have different scripts that come up that help the CSR, navigate through the process. And that's all. That whole scripting is all handled by other people in the call centers. I guess we have to say that we do have two call centers, one in Fort Myers, Florida, and one in Paducah, Kentucky, that where the CSRs are. But during these pandemic times, a lot of people are working from home, and we've constructed this ABF application in such a way that we can actually have people come in for training and then work from home shortly thereafter.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, challenging,
So the next thing I'd like to just touch on you with is some of the challenges you face in running a sophisticated system like that. And the first one is you have to meet very strict service level agreements with your insurance companies, correct?
Oh yeah, we're I think it's like a 99.5% uptime is what we've agreed to. We do have certain windows where we can take the system down, get things done, pipe in database procedures, other things that we don't want to do while people are on the system. But yeah, we have these service level agreements that we strive to meet, and we run a pretty smart operation and basically get it done most of the time.
You recently did your Lynx and Ingress 11 upgrades, and now you've always had a business challenge after holidays, right? Where people are doing a lot of driving and there's a big uptick in windshield damage.
Yeah, one of the fun things for me is I'm always at work the day after Memorial Day weekend, July 4th weekend, Labor Day weekend, especially after a long Labor Day weekend when we have 2 days off during the week. The next day is just crazy with the volume. And I like to kind of sit back and watch the system fly. And, after the fact, I interrogate to see how many what we call dispatches have been created that day. And, we haven't had any issues. We just, we run fine. But it's kind of fun for me to see that everything is working whenever we are putting a a big load on the system. So, yeah.
One of your challenges is the fact that you do have both Windows front ends as well as Linux-based backends.
Not sure about what you mean by that. Windows.
You have a .NET environment, for example. There's connectivity that has to be maintained. You have Windows servers that access. You basically have to manage a heterogeneous environment.
Yeah, the website. Okay, I'm not a web developer or anything like that, but I do manage the Ingress installations on the Windows servers. And we are heavy users of database procedures, which allow us to basically do the same functionality in the ABF application and in the web application. They both call the same procedures, both doing the same work. And, it's just a smart way of building things, But the website, we allow certain insurance companies can have their policyholders actually sign on to their system, get to our system from theirs, and initiate a glass claim, a loss, without even going through the CSR.
Like many companies, you're kind of challenged on people resources right now, right? You have to work pretty smart.
Oh yeah, people resources with regards to us developers. Yeah, and we do work smart. We are a small team. We've all been with the operation for a number of years, and we work very cohesively. As far as the CSRs go, I think that I think they're pretty well staffed right now. Just from the fact that I did see 321 distinct connections just last week. Now, every CSR has the capability to bring up multiple sessions, so the actual number of connections was well over 500 in the ABF application, and then again another 60 or 70 at one time in the web environment. One other thing in the web environment, we allow the actual retailers to sign on and adjust their information, like their hours of operation, their address, stuff like that. A lot of different profile items that allow them to say, we are taking dispatches after hours, or we are not, things of that nature.
And you recently introduced new technologies such as the security systems on the Linux boxes. You've had changes in IT infrastructure. You're constantly having to adapt this system to business needs.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, I forget the name of it, different accounting type stuff. We have to make changes security wise, of course. And we're constantly migrating, changing, progressing, and it's a challenge, and it's a fun challenge.
Yeah, that sounds like it. So Actian Professional Services started with Lynx Services in 1999, and we actually are heavily involved in helping Mike and Lynx Services maintain those SLAs. We have a dedicated staff. There's always a principal engineer that works directly, but we also have several other people that are very familiar with the site. Lynx Services gives us access to the system, so we're not a support organization. We're actually direct online consultants, and we work with Mike directly. And we do routine reviews and status updates. And that's the relationship between Actian Professional Services and Mike. So we've also done consulting. We also do other kinds of consulting other than just routine things, reviewing things, helping with tuning. The current Linux system, Mike, right? It's small. It's technically smaller than the HPUX system you used to have, but it's outperforming it by a lot with the new version of Ingress.
Oh yeah, it's flying. I mean, it's from the day we cut over, it's really performance is fantastic.
We've also worked on networking. As Mike mentioned, there is a lot of Windows to Linux stuff that's a heterogeneous environment. Things don't always go as planned. We are computer experts even beyond the Actian products, and we will even help with things like using Linux security systems and things like that for improving the environment. We're currently working on source code control to help improve your deployment process, right?
Yeah, and if I could jump in and say a couple things here with regards to some of the other things you did for us. I mean, we had 2 migrations when we moved from one environment to another, and as part of that, we had to move the database. And getting back to the SLAs, we just could not take a checkpoint file and move it straight over. So working together, I mean, you came up with this idea to use IngressNet to move the database in pieces, and that basically split run scripts to, based on the sizes of the tables, put them into 6 different copy out statements and back into 6 copy in statements, along with all the modifies and the grants, the accesses, stuff like that, piping in the database procedures, which allowed us to do that in a short period of time, and which was extremely helpful and helped us with that most recent move. Yeah, some of the other things you've done for us is you're helping me right now with source code control, and your knowledge of the Windows environment. When we run into an issue, you're pretty well connected with all sorts of environments. The whole HP to Linux. I mean, you kind of warned us ahead of time what was going to change, and sure enough, it did change, and we had to make adjustments in our back-end scripting, in particular, to move on successfully.
Well, that is a good segue, because the other thing that we do for Lynx is sometimes there are special projects. And the HPUX to Linux migration was pretty significant. It was a major improvement to the environment, and you went to Ingress 11 at the same time.
Right.
That can be challenging, especially when you have to meet these very strict SLAs. We've also looked at disaster recovery. You have a very sophisticated disaster recovery system at Lynx Services, correct?
Yeah, and it's something I keep an eye on. I mean, we do not take this responsibility lightly. We take a full-blown test with Solera once a year. I'm constantly watching to make sure that the journal files and the checkpoint files make it to the DR box, and that we can I roll forward several times a week to make sure that we're running as we expect to run. And as part of the disaster recovery, we launch. Excuse me. We have all our production files being sent over at our data files and things of that nature at a 5-minute interval during the day. So should we go down, I'm confident that we can come up within, just do a roll forward, apply the journals. I'll be up in less than a half an hour.
You typically are beating your requirements for disaster recovery by quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, we are. I mean, that's me saying that, of course, a half an hour, but our requirements, I think we need to be back up in a 24-hour period.
That's excellent. And then lastly, one of the most recent one is that you're actually being asked to relocate data centers.
Right. That operation is actually, there's a lot of planning involved in that, and that's coming to fruition this coming Saturday night, when we are moving our data center from one location to another using a tool called Verto, which I'm not familiar with, and I'm glad I don't have to be familiar with it. I'll stay with the Ingress side.
Because when you moved the development environment already, right? It was just flawless.
Yeah, one nice thing about that, and this thing that I was worried about was Ingress licensing. Okay, and they do a bit by bit copy so that when we came up on the in the new environment, I actually couldn't tell that there was a change. Um, so
And even if there
it's
had been, you could have just pinged us by the emergency line and we would have had you a lifeboat to you immediately.
or called you direct.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Well, that covers all the topics, Mike. Thank you for your time. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, one thing that's kind of kept me through the years, and I've mentioned this to you several times, like there's no such thing as an old DBA and a bold DBA. There are no old bold DBAs. So I'm an old DBA, and I'm very cautious with what I do. And with your help and some of your predecessors as well, I mean, we've had a good, really, really good working relationship where I know I have a source to go to, and if I want to just run something past you, I can do that. All right. Which I'll be contacting you after this meeting because I do want to talk to you about a change I want to make and get your impression on it. So, but no, it's been a very, very advantageous relationship for us.
Well, thank you for that. And that concludes our webinar.